The Dominion had never known defeat. For 300 cycles, their silver fleets had moved across the galaxy like a great wave. They took world after world. They crushed civilization after civilization. Nobody could stop them. Nobody even came close. Commander Prime stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Silence. He watched through the great viewing window as another planet burned below. Orange fires spread across its surface like cracks in glass. The species that lived there had fought bravely. They had sent their best ships. They had fired their strongest weapons. It did not matter. They always won. 47 species, said his second-in-command, a tall creature with silver skin and 4 arms. 47 victories without a single loss. Prime nodded slowly. He felt no joy at this news. Joy was for lesser beings. He felt only the cold satisfaction of purpose fulfilled. They were meant to rule. The universe had made them perfect for this task. They had evolved on a paradise world. Their home planet had gentle gravity that let them grow tall and graceful. The climate never changed. Food grew everywhere. There were no predators, no diseases, no natural disasters. For millions of years, they had lived in perfect comfort. They believed this made them the chosen ones. The universe had given them everything, so clearly the universe wanted them to take everything else. Their technology was beautiful. Their ships moved through space like silver fish through water. Their weapons fired beams of pure energy that could cut through any armor. Their shields could stop any attack. At least, that was what they believed. "Sir," said the sensor officer, "we have completed our scan of the next sector." A holographic map appeared in the center of the bridge. It showed a yellow star with 8 planets spinning around it. The third planet glowed blue and green on the display. "Interesting," Prime said. "What do we know about this system?" "Very little, Commander. The species there is young. They have only recently developed space travel. Their radio signals suggest a primitive civilization. Easy conquest." Prime studied the blue planet. Something about it bothered him. The computer had placed a small red warning symbol next to it, but the symbol was so old that nobody remembered what it meant. "Send the scout fleet," he ordered. "Standard approach. Demand surrender. If they refuse, destroy their orbital defenses and prepare for ground invasion." "Yes, Commander." The scout fleet jumped to hyperspace. 50 ships, more than enough to crush any primitive species. Prime turned back to watch the burning planet below. He expected to hear of another easy victory within a few hours. He was wrong. The scout fleet arrived in the yellow star system and immediately detected something unexpected. There were ships waiting for them, not the crude rockets of a young species. Real warships, hundreds of them, arranged in a defensive line between the alien fleet and the blue planet. Admiral stood on the bridge of the carrier, Indomitable Spirit. She was a small woman with short black hair and calm eyes. She had served in the United Earth Defense Force for 30 years. She had fought in the Mars Rebellion, the Titan Crisis, and the long war against the rogue AI Collective. She had never lost a battle. "Contact the alien fleet," she said. "Standard warning." Her communications officer opened a channel. Admiral spoke clearly. "Unknown vessels, you have entered Terran space. This system is under the protection of the United Earth Defense Force. Turn back now. This is your only warning." On the Scout Commander's bridge, there was confusion. The translator struggled with the alien language. When the message finally came through, the commander laughed. "They are warning us, these primitives," he turned to his crew. "Ignore them, begin the attack." The ships moved forward. Their elegant forms glided through space, their weapons charged with beautiful blue light. Admiral watched them come. She did not seem worried. "They are not turning back," her tactical officer reported. "I did not expect them to," said. "All ships weapons free. Show them what a fleet can do." The word meant something very specific in galactic terms. The galaxy was full of species that had evolved on comfortable worlds. worlds with stable climates and gentle conditions. These species were smart and advanced, but they were also soft. They had never needed to be anything else. But some worlds were different. Some worlds were nightmares of extreme conditions, deadly predators, and constant danger. Species that evolved on these worlds were rare because most of them died. The few that survived became something else entirely. They became hard in ways that comfortable species could not understand. Earth was classified as a death world, category 12. The highest category was 13. Only 3 planets in the known galaxy had ever reached that level, and none of them had produced intelligent life. The humans were the children of a world that had tried to kill them every single day of their existence, and they had not just survived. They had conquered their planet. They had tamed it. They had spread across it like a force of nature. Now they were spreading across the stars. The scout fleet fired first. Blue beams of energy lanced across space toward the human ships. The beams were perfect and precise. They hit their targets exactly where they were aimed. The human ships did not have shields. The beams struck their hulls directly. And nothing happened. The commander stared at his display in confusion. The human ships were still there. They were damaged, yes. Holes had been burned in their armor, but they were still moving, still fighting. Their hulls were covered in thick layers of metal and composite materials. Where ships relied on elegant shields, human ships were simply built to take damage and keep going. Then the humans fired back. Their weapons were not elegant. They were brutal. Massive cannons launched shells the size of small vehicles at incredible speeds. Missiles carrying explosive warheads scattered in all directions. Lasers designed to burn through asteroids cut across the void. The first ship exploded, then the second, then the third. The scout commander screamed for his fleet to return fire. They did. More blue beams hit the human ships. More holes appeared in their armor, and still the humans kept coming. A small human ship, ugly and angular, flew directly at the flagship. The commander ordered all weapons to fire on it. The ship was hit dozens of times. Fire erupted from its hull. Atmosphere vented into space. The ship did not stop. It did not slow down. It crashed directly into the flagship's hangar bay. The commander watched in horror as the human ship's hull broke open. Figures in armored suits poured out. They were small compared to they should have been weak. They should have been easy to kill. They were not. The humans moved through the ship like ghosts. They fought in ways they had never seen. They did not stop when they were wounded. They did not retreat when they were outnumbered. They just kept fighting, kept pushing forward, kept killing. By the time the battle ended, the scout fleet had lost 43 ships. Only 7 managed to escape back to hyperspace. The humans had lost 2 ships, too. When the survivors reported to Prime, he did not believe them at first. He accused them of lying, of cowardice, of exaggeration. Then he watched the recordings they had brought. He saw human ships absorbing damage that would have destroyed his best vessels. He saw human soldiers fighting hand to hand against his warriors and winning. He saw a species that should have been primitive, that should have been easy prey, standing against his empire like a wall of iron. For the first time in 300 cycles, Prime felt something he had never felt before. He felt afraid. Prime refused to accept what had happened. A single failed attack meant nothing. The scout fleet had been small. They had been surprised. The next assault would be different. The next assault would show these humans the true power of the Dominion. He gathered 300 of his finest warships, the greatest fleet the Dominion had assembled in 50 cycles. Each ship was crewed by veterans of dozens of conquests. Each captain had never known defeat. Together, they would crush this strange new enemy and remind the galaxy who ruled the stars. The fleet jumped to the human system 3 days later. Captain stood on the bridge of the destroyer Hammer of Soul. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and a scar that ran across his left cheek. He had earned that scar fighting pirates in the asteroid belt when he was young. He had earned many more scars since then, though most of them were on his body, hidden beneath his uniform. Enemy fleet detected, his tactical officer reported. She was a young woman with sharp eyes and quick hands. She had grown up on a mining station near Jupiter, where the gravity was low and the dangers were high. 300 ships, all heavy combat vessels. Nodded slowly. The numbers were not good. The human defensive fleet had only 120 ships. They were outmatched more than 2 to 1. Admiral is on the command channel, his communications officer said. His face appeared on the main screen. She looked as calm as always. Some people said she had ice in her veins. Others said she simply did not know how to be afraid. Suspected the truth was somewhere in between. All ships said, the enemy believes that numbers will win this battle. They are wrong. We do not fight to win. We fight because we do not know how to surrender. Show them what that means. The channel closed, turned to his crew. You heard the Admiral, battle stations. The fleet approached in a perfect formation. Their ships moved together like dancers, each one in exactly the right position. It was beautiful to watch. It was also predictable. Lieutenant sat in the cockpit of his fighter, waiting in the launch bay of the carrier Rising Sun. He was small for a soldier, but his reflexes were faster than anyone in the fleet. He had grown up racing hover bikes through the canyons of Mars. He had learned to make decisions in fractions of a second, to react before his conscious mind even knew what was happening. All fighters launch, came the order. Push the throttle forward. His fighter shot out of the launch bay like a bullet from a gun. Around him, hundreds of other fighters spread out into the void. They were small and fast, designed to slip through enemy defenses and strike at weak points. The battle began. They fired first, as they always did. Blue beams of energy cut through space in perfect patterns. They hit their targets with mathematical precision. The human ships shook under the impacts. Armor melted. Hull plates cracked. Air vented into the vacuum. On the Hammer of Soul, an explosion rocked the ship, grabbed his command chair to keep from falling. Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed. Damage report, he ordered. Hull breach on Deck 7, said. Her voice was steady despite the chaos. Fire in the engine room. We have lost 30% of our forward armor. Any ship would have retreated after taking that much damage. They believed in preserving their forces, in fighting smart, in surviving to fight another day. Humans had different ideas. Continue forward, said. All weapons fire at will. The Hammer of Soul pushed deeper into the enemy formation. Its cannons roared, its missiles flew. Around it, other human ships did the same. They took damage that should have destroyed them. They lost engines, weapons, entire sections of their hulls, and still they kept fighting. On Deck 7, a damage control team worked to seal the hull breach. The team leader was a woman named. She was 60 years old and had been serving on ships since she was 18. She had seen more battles than she could count. The breach was bad. Air was rushing out into space. The temperature was dropping fast. Could feel ice forming on her skin. Any other species would have retreated to a safer area. They would have sealed the section and let the vacuum take it. And her team put on breathing masks and kept working. Patch the hole, she ordered. We are not losing this section. They worked with their hands turning blue from the cold. They worked with frost forming on their eyelids. They worked until the breach was sealed and the section was saved. That was what it meant to be human. You did not stop. You did not quit. You kept going until the job was done or until you were dead. There was no third option. In space, Lieutenant flew through the battle like a ghost. His fighter twisted and turned, dodging enemy fire by margins so small they should have been impossible. He had already destroyed 3 ships by targeting their engine cores. Now he had a bigger target in mind. The command ship sat at the center of their formation. It was huge, 3 times the size of any human vessel. Its shields glowed bright blue. Its weapons covered every approach. Flew straight at it. "Lieutenant," his wingman called over the radio, "what are you doing? That is suicide." Maybe said, "Watch and learn." He pushed his fighter to maximum speed. The gunners saw him coming and opened fire. Beams of energy filled the space around him. His shields failed. His hull was hit. Fire erupted in his cockpit. He did not slow down. At the last possible moment, he aimed his fighter at the command ship's hangar bay. The bay doors were open just barely to launch fighters of their own. It was a gap of maybe 20 meters, an impossible shot. Made it. His fighter crashed through the gap and into the hangar. It hit the deck hard, sliding across the metal floor in a shower of sparks. Soldiers scattered in all directions. Ejected from his ruined fighter, he rolled across the deck, came up on his feet, and pulled his sidearm from its holster. He was bleeding from a cut on his head. His left arm was broken. He did not care. He started shooting. The soldiers had never faced infantry combat. Their wars were fought with ships and weapons, at a distance, with clean tactics and elegant strategies. They did not know what to do when a small human came running at them with a gun in one hand and a knife in the other. Moved through the ship like a demon. He shot guards, cut through doors, and fought his way toward the bridge. When his gun ran out of ammunition, he used his knife. When his knife broke, he used his fists. When his fists were bloody and swollen, he kept swinging anyway. 20 minutes later, he stood on the bridge of the command ship. The captain lay at his feet, unconscious. The crew had surrendered. A single human had captured one of the most powerful ships in the enemy fleet. Outside, the battle was turning. They had expected an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that would not die. Human ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting with half their systems offline. Human soldiers kept coming even when they were wounded, even when they were outnumbered, even when any sane species would have retreated. The broke. It started slowly. One ship turned and ran, then another, then a dozen. Soon the entire fleet was fleeing back to hyperspace, leaving their dead and damaged behind. When the battle ended, the humans counted their losses. 4 ships destroyed, 12 heavily damaged, many dead, many more wounded. They had lost 260 ships. Captain stood on his damaged bridge and watched the enemy flee. His ship was barely holding together. His crew was exhausted, but they had won. "Sir," said quietly, "they are going to come back with more ships, more weapons." Nodded, "I know." "Can we stop them?" Thought about the question. He thought about his crew, about sealing the hull breach in frozen air, about capturing an enemy ship by himself. He thought about what it meant to be human. "We will not stop them," he said. "We will break them. We will show them what happens when you attack a species. And when we are done, they will never threaten anyone again." Smiled. It was a hard smile, the smile of someone who had grown up in the cold darkness between planets. "Yes, sir," she said. "I think we will." Prime sat alone in his chambers for 3 days after the second defeat. He did not eat. He did not sleep. He simply stared at the recordings of the battle, watching them over and over again, trying to understand what had happened. 260 ships, lost to a force less than half their size. It was impossible. It went against everything they had learned in 300 cycles of conquest. Superior numbers were supposed to win. Superior technology was supposed to triumph. That was how the universe worked. But these humans did not follow the rules. On the 4th day, Prime called his chief scientist to his chambers. The scientist was old, even by standards. He had spent his entire life studying the galaxy and the species that lived in it. "Tell me everything about Earth," Prime ordered. "Everything about these humans. I want to know what we are dealing with." The scientist bowed and began his presentation. What he showed Prime would give the commander nightmares for the rest of his life. Earth is classified as a death world, Category 12, the scientist began. To understand what this means, you must first understand how planets are classified. A holographic display appeared, showing different types of worlds. Most of them were green, indicating safe conditions. A few were yellow, suggesting some dangers. And then there was red. Category 1 through 5 are considered challenging but survivable, the scientist explained. Higher gravity, difficult climate, some dangerous animals. Many species evolve on such worlds. Category 6 through 10 are considered extreme. Only very hardy species can survive there. Category 11 and 12 are called death worlds for a reason. They are actively hostile to life. The planet itself seems to want everything on it to die. Prime leaned forward, and Earth is Category 12. Yes, Commander, let me show you why. The display changed to show Earth. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. It looked almost peaceful from a distance. But as the scientist zoomed in, the horrors became clear. Earth's gravity is one standard, the scientist said. This is crushing by galactic norms. Most species cannot walk on Earth's surface without mechanical assistance. The humans not only walk freely in this gravity, they run. They jump. They carry heavy loads. Their bones and muscles have evolved to handle forces that would tear other species apart. The display showed a human running. The scientist highlighted the stress on their joints, the power in their muscles. But gravity is just the beginning. Earth's atmosphere is 21% oxygen. Oxygen, Commander. A corrosive gas that destroys organic matter over time. Most species would suffocate or burn from the inside if they breathed such an atmosphere. Humans not only survive it, they need it. Their cells use oxygen to generate energy. Prime felt sick, breathing poison to live. It was madness. The planet's surface is covered in monoxide, the scientist continued. We call it the universal solvent because it dissolves almost anything given enough time. It falls from the sky regularly. It fills vast basins called oceans. The humans swim in it. They drink it. They cannot survive without it. They drink solvent, Prime whispered. Every day, multiple times a day. If they stop, they die within 3 days. The display showed more horrors. Earthquakes that shook the ground and collapsed buildings. Volcanoes that spewed molten rock and poisonous gas. Storms that threw lightning from the sky with enough power to kill instantly. Hurricanes and tornadoes that destroyed everything in their path. And then there are the other life forms on Earth, the scientist said. His voice had grown quiet. Every species on that planet has evolved to kill. Predators with claws and teeth. Venomous creatures that inject poison with a single bite. Microscopic organisms that invade the body and multiply until the host dies. Diseases, Prime said. He had heard of diseases but had never truly understood them. They had no such things. Yes, the humans live in constant war with tiny organisms that try to kill them from the inside. But here is the most frightening part, Commander. The humans have adapted. Their bodies contain specialized cells that hunt and destroy these invaders. Their immune systems fight off attacks that would be instantly fatal to any other species. The scientist paused. And when the invaders win anyway, when the humans do get sick, their bodies learn. The next time that same invader attacks, the human body is ready. It remembers. It adapts. Prime stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars drifted past in the blackness of space. He had conquered so many of those stars. Now he wondered if he had ever really understood anything. There is more, the scientist said quietly. Tell me. Humans are persistent predators. Do you know what this means? Prime shook his head. Most predators hunt through speed or ambush. They catch their prey quickly or not at all. Humans evolved differently. They hunt by endurance. They choose a target and they follow it. They do not run fast, but they do not stop. They chase their prey for hours, for days, until the prey collapses from exhaustion. The display showed ancient humans hunting on the plains of a continent called Africa. They ran beneath a burning sun, following animals that were faster, stronger, and more dangerous, and they kept running until those animals could run no more. This is their fundamental nature, the scientists said. They do not give up, they do not stop, they keep going until they win or until they are dead. There is no retreat in their psychology, no surrender, just endless, relentless pursuit. That explains the battles, Prime said slowly. Their ships kept fighting when they should have been destroyed. Their soldiers kept attacking when they should have fled. Yes, and there is one more thing, Commander, perhaps the most disturbing thing of all. The display changed again. It showed human history, wars, so many wars, humans fighting humans across thousands of years, weapons of increasing power, destruction on scales that made conquests look small. They have spent their entire existence fighting each other, the scientists said. They have developed weapons capable of destroying their own planet, nuclear bombs, chemical agents, biological weapons. They have killed hundreds of millions of their own kind in conflicts over land, resources, and ideas. They are insane, Prime said. Perhaps, but they are also incredibly good at war. They have had more practice than any species in the galaxy. Every generation has known conflict. Every technology has been turned toward destruction. When we attacked them, we faced a species that has been at war for its entire history. Prime was silent for a long time. He thought about his empire, his victories, his certainty that they were the chosen rulers of the galaxy. Now that certainty felt like a child's dream. "What do we do?" he asked finally. The scientist shook his head. "I do not know, Commander. We have conquered 47 species. None of them were like this. None of them came from a death world. None of them had spent their existence learning to survive the unsurvivable." There was a chime at the door. A messenger entered looking pale. "Commander," the messenger said, "we have received a communication from the human system. They are offering to meet under a flag of truce. A doctor named has requested to speak with you personally." Prime considered refusing. Then he thought about what the scientist had shown him. These humans were monsters wearing the faces of soft creatures, but even monsters could be reasoned with. Perhaps. "Accept the request," he ordered. "Let us see what these want to say." Doctor arrived 3 days later aboard a small shuttle. She was a middle-aged woman with gray in her hair and a gentle smile. She did not look like a monster. She looked like someone's mother. She met with envoys in a neutral chamber aboard a station between the two fleets. She brought gifts, food and drink from Earth, which they were too afraid to touch. "You wanted to understand us," she said, sipping a dark liquid called coffee. "I am here to help you understand." She told them stories. Stories about human history, about the ice ages that nearly wiped them out, about the plagues that killed half their population, about the wars that burned their cities to ash, about how they survived every disaster and rebuilt every time. "We are not a cruel species by nature," she said. "We help each other, we build, we create, we dream, but we learned long ago that kindness alone does not keep you alive. Our world taught us that." The envoys listened in growing horror. "When you attacked our colony on Europa," Doctor continued, her voice hardening, "you killed 43 scientists and 12 children. We gave you one warning before the first battle. We told you to turn back. You chose not to listen." She finished her coffee and set the cup down. "Now there will be no more warnings. You wanted to know what you are dealing with. You are dealing with a species that crawled out of hell and learned to like the heat. You are dealing with the children of a world that spent 4 billion years trying to kill us." She stood up to leave. "Pray to whatever gods you worship. The Armada is coming." The news of Europa spread across human space like fire through dry grass. Every news channel showed the images. Every screen displayed the names and faces of the dead. 43 scientists, 12 children. The youngest was 4 years old. Her name was, she had wanted to be a pilot when she grew up. Admiral stood before the United Earth Council in the Great Chamber on Luna. The council members sat in a half-circle around her, their faces grim. Behind them, through the massive window, Earth hung blue and beautiful against the black of space. "They attacked a civilian research station," said. Her voice was steady, but those who knew her could hear the cold anger beneath the words. "They killed everyone, men, women, and children. They did not try to capture. They did not ask for surrender. They simply destroyed." Council Chairman Ho leaned forward. He was an old man who had lived through the Titan Crisis and the Long War. He knew what war looked like. "What do you recommend, Admiral?" Did not hesitate. "Full mobilization, the Armada, everything we have." A murmur went through the council. The Armada was a name from legend. It was the combined military might of all humanity. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. It had been assembled only once before during the Long War, and its power had changed the course of history. "This is not a defensive action," continued. "This is not about protecting our borders. They have shown us what they do to those who cannot fight back. They have conquered 47 species, 47 civilizations destroyed or enslaved. If we do not stop them, they will continue." She brought up a holographic display. It showed the galaxy, with territory marked in silver. The silver covered nearly a quarter of the known stars. "We will not wait for them to attack again. We will go to them. We will break their fleets. We will take and we will end their empire forever." The council voted unanimously in favor. The mobilization began within hours. Across human space, shipyards that had been building civilian vessels switched to war production. Soldiers who had retired returned to service. Scientists abandoned their research to work on weapons. Humanity moved as one, united by grief and anger. General arrived at the main military base on Mars to take command of the ground forces. He was a hard man with a face like carved stone. He had led troops in a dozen conflicts, from the orbital platforms of Venus to the frozen wastelands of Europa itself. His soldiers called him the Mountain because nothing could move him. "How many can we mobilize?" he asked his staff. 2 million ground troops," his aide replied. "Another 500,000 Marines for shipboarding actions. Support personnel brings the total to nearly 4 million. Nodded. It was enough. It would have to be enough. He walked through the training grounds, watching his soldiers prepare. They ran in Earth-normal gravity, which most alien species could not even stand in. They practiced fighting in toxic atmospheres, in burning heat, in freezing cold. They learned to fight without air, without light, without hope. A young sergeant named caught attention. The sergeant was leading his squad through a brutal obstacle course. One of his soldiers fell, exhausted, grabbed the soldier by the arm and pulled him up. "You do not fall," said. "You do not stop. You keep moving until the mission is done. Understood?" "Yes, Sergeant," the soldier shouted. Smiled slightly. That was the spirit that would win this war. Not just strength or technology, but the refusal to give up. The absolute determination to keep going no matter what. On the carrier Indomitable Spirit, Chief Engineer worked day and night on a new weapons system. She was a small woman with oil-stained hands and brilliant eyes. She had designed half the systems on modern human warships. Now she was creating something new. "What is it?" Captain asked when he visited her workshop. Showed him the blueprints. It was a missile, but not like any missile had ever seen. It was massive, designed to be fired from a specially built launcher. Its warhead contained something she called cascade plasma. "If this hits a ship," she explained, "it does not just explode. It starts a chain reaction in the target's hull. The plasma spreads, burning through everything it touches. The entire ship is consumed from the inside out." Felt a chill, that is. Horrifying, yes, I know. Did not look proud, she looked tired. "I call it the Hellfire Protocol. It is a last resort. If we face a fleet we cannot defeat through normal means, this will destroy them. Have you told Admiral? She approved the project herself. She said we need to be ready for anything. Turned back to her work. I hope we never have to use it, but if we do, it will end the battle quickly. The fleet assembled over the next 2 weeks. Ships came from every corner of human space. Old battleships that had fought in the Long War joined sleek new destroyers fresh from the shipyards, carriers loaded with fighters, troop transports carrying Marines, supply ships, repair vessels, hospital ships. 2,000 warships in total, the largest fleet humanity had ever gathered. Admiral stood on the bridge of her flagship and watched the fleet form up. Each ship represented years of work, thousands of lives, billions of credits. More importantly, each ship carried humans who were willing to die for this mission. "Ma'am," her communications officer said, "we are receiving a message from the Dominion." "Put it through." Prime's face appeared on the screen. He looked older than the first time had seen him, tired, worried. "Admiral," he said, "I propose a ceasefire. We will withdraw from the border systems. We will release any prisoners we have taken. There is no need for more death." Considered his words. A part of her wanted to accept. She was not cruel. She did not enjoy killing. But then she thought about Europa, about the 4-year-old who wanted to be a pilot. "Commander Prime," she said, "3 weeks ago your forces attacked a civilian station, 43 scientists and 12 children. You did not offer them a ceasefire. You did not give them a chance to surrender. You simply killed them all." Prime's face showed something like regret. "That was a mistake. The commander who ordered the attack has been punished." "Punished?" His voice was flat. "Was he killed? Did you destroy everything he loved? Did you take away his entire future?" The commander was silent. "Here is what is going to happen," continued. "The Armada is coming to we will destroy your fleets. We will take your capital. Your empire will fall. And when we are done, you will spend the rest of your existence helping rebuild the civilizations you destroyed." "You cannot." "I can, I will. You started this war, Commander. We are going to finish it." She cut the transmission. Around her, the bridge crew worked in silence. They had all lost friends in the war. They had all seen the images from Europa. They were ready. "Admiral," her tactical officer said, "the fleet is assembled. All ships report ready for departure." Took a deep breath. 2,000 ships, millions of lives, the fate of the galaxy, all of it rested on her shoulders. "All ships," she announced over the fleet-wide channel, "this is Admiral. Today we leave our home to bring justice to those who attacked us. We do not fight for conquest. We do not fight for glory. We fight because there are species who cannot defend themselves. We fight because the must be stopped. We fight because we are human and this is what we do." She paused, looking out at the stars. "Today, the Armada goes to war. May whatever gods exist have mercy on our enemies, because we will not." The fleet jumped to hyperspace. 2,000 points of light vanishing into the darkness. 2,000 ships carrying the anger and determination of an entire species. The Dominion had conquered 47 civilizations. They had won countless battles. They had spread across the galaxy like a plague. But they had never faced anything like this. They had never faced the children of Earth. They had stood unconquered for 3,000 years. Its orbital defenses were the strongest in the galaxy. Thousands of warships patrolled its space. Billions of soldiers waited on its surface. It was the heart of an empire that had never known defeat. Until now. The Armada dropped out of hyperspace like a hammer falling from the sky. 2,000 human warships spread out in a formation that covered millions of kilometers. At their head flew the carrier Indomitable Spirit, with Admiral standing calmly on its bridge. "Enemy fleet detected," her tactical officer reported. "Approximately 3,000 ships. They are forming a defensive line around the planet." 3,000 against 2,000. The numbers still favored the. Any other species would have seen those odds and retreated. Admiral smiled. All ships, she ordered, begin attack pattern Alpha. Strike groups hit their flanks. Captain, take your squadron through the center. Show them what can do. The battle began. Captain pushed the hammer of Soul forward at maximum speed. His ship had been repaired since the last battle, its hull patched and its weapons replaced. His crew was tired but ready. They had been waiting for this moment. Target their command ships first, ordered. Cut the head off the snake. Yes, sir, locking on now. The hammer of Soul's main guns roared. Heavy shells crossed the void and smashed into a battleship. The first shot punched through the shields. The second cracked the hull. The third broke the ship in half. Around them, chaos erupted. Human ships slammed into the formation with brutal force. Fighters swarmed like insects, too small and fast to target. Missiles filled the space between the fleets, so many that they looked like a cloud of stars. They fought back with everything they had. Their elegant weapons fired in precise patterns. Their shields flashed and glowed. Their commanders gave orders with the calm of beings who had won 1,000 battles. But this battle was different. A human destroyer took a direct hit to its engine section. The explosion tore away a third of the ship. Fire blazed in the vacuum. Any vessel would have been dead. The human ship kept moving. Its remaining engines pushed it forward. Its guns kept firing. Its crew kept fighting even as their ship fell apart around them. How, the commander demanded, watching his display with horror. How are they still fighting? He did not understand. He could not understand. He had never faced a species that simply refused to die. Lieutenant flew through the battle with a wing of fighters behind him. His new ship was even faster than his old one, a prototype with experimental engines. He used every bit of that speed to slip through gaps in the enemy formation. Target ahead, his wingman called. Orbital defense station, heavy shields. Studied the station. It was huge, bristling with weapons. Its shields could stop anything short of a nuclear warhead. Any normal pilot would look for an easier target. Was not a normal pilot. Follow me, he ordered. We are going inside. He dove toward the station at full speed. The station's guns tracked him, filling the space with deadly fire. His shields failed. His hull was hit. Warning lights screamed. He did not slow down. There was a gap in the station's defenses, a maintenance hatch that opened for exactly 3 seconds every rotation, a gap less than 10 meters wide, impossible to hit at combat speed. Hit it perfectly. His fighter shot through the hatch and into the station's interior. He crashed through machinery and equipment, his ship screaming as it tore itself apart. He ejected at the last moment, landing hard on the station's deck. His leg was broken. His ribs were cracked. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his forehead. He pulled his weapon and started fighting. On the ground, the invasion had begun. Sergeant and his squad dropped from orbit in heavy landing pods. The pods screamed through the atmosphere, their heat shields burning white-hot. Anti-aircraft fire exploded around them. 3 pods were destroyed before they even reached the surface. Spod hit the ground hard. The impact knocked him off his feet and left his ears ringing. He forced himself up and kicked open the pod's door. It was beautiful. Blue sky, green plants, gentle gravity, a paradise compared to Earth. Did not care about beauty. He cared about his mission. Move out, he ordered his squad. Target is the planetary defense grid. We have 2 hours to take it down. His squad moved through the alien city like ghosts. They had trained for this on 100 different worlds. Low gravity, high gravity, toxic atmospheres, burning deserts. Nothing surprised them anymore. The defenders tried to stop them. They set up barricades. They called for reinforcements. They fired with weapons designed to kill from a safe distance. The humans did not fight at a safe distance. Private was first through the enemy barricade. She took a hit to her shoulder but kept moving. She grabbed a soldier and threw him into his companions. She cleared the position in 12 seconds. "You okay?" asked as he passed her. Checked her wound. The bullet had passed through clean. It hurt, but she could still fight. "Fine, Sergeant, let's keep moving." They reached the defense grid 2 hours and 37 minutes after landing. The building was surrounded by troops, hundreds of them, with heavy weapons and armored vehicles. Studied the situation. His squad had 9 people left. Some were wounded. All were tired. Any smart commander would have waited for reinforcement. Was not interested in waiting. "We go through the front door," he announced. "Take point. Everyone else follow my lead. We hit them hard and fast. Do not stop until we reach the control room." His squad did not hesitate. They charged. They were not prepared for a direct assault. They had set up their defenses to repel a careful, methodical attack. Instead, 9 humans came at them like a force of nature. Fought with a rifle in one hand and a knife in the other. When his rifle jammed, he threw it at an enemy and kept going with just the knife. He took 3 wounds but did not stop. Cleared rooms with cold efficiency. She had grown up in the slums of New Seoul, where every day was a fight for survival. This was just another day. By the time they reached the control room, only 5 of them were still standing. Was bleeding from wounds on his leg, arm, and chest. Had a bullet lodged somewhere in her side. The others were in similar condition. But they had one. Planted the charges on the main console. The timer counted down. When the explosives detonated, the entire planetary defense grid went dark. In orbit, Admiral watched as the enemy's ground-based weapons fell silent. Without the defense grid, the was exposed. "All ships," she ordered, "focus fire on their orbital platforms. Ground forces begin the main invasion. This ends today." The human fleet poured forward. Ship after ship broke through the lines. Landing craft descended like rain, carrying hundreds of thousands of soldiers. The commander watched his empire crumble. In 3 days of fighting, humanity had done what no species had accomplished in 3,000 years. They had brought the Dominion to its knees. "How?" he asked again, his voice barely a whisper. "How did they defeat us?" His advisor, the same scientist who had researched humanity, answered slowly. "They evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. Every predator, every disease, every natural disaster. They survived it all. And they remember. They remember every lesson their world taught them." "What lesson?" The advisor looked out at the burning sky. "That mercy is a luxury, and adaptation is survival." The fell 3 days later. The Dominion surrendered unconditionally. The age of conquest was over. The age of something new had begun.